Well, hello, everyone, and welcome here to FNL Gridiron. Nick and Astis, Steve Beals with you. We are presented by Beals Insurance Championship Edition. Over the next 60 minutes, we break down what happened in the D1 semifinals. We preview what may happen in Saturday's championship rematch between Bedford and Londonderry. To help us do that, well, how about both head coaches? At 6:30, we'll speak with Zach Matthews for a third straight week. He's got the Bulldogs seeking their fourth Division I championship in the last decade. Jimmy Lozon, no stranger to the big stage either. The Londonderry head coach / athletic director will join us at 6:45. And in about 10, maybe 12 minutes from now, we'll speak with Roger Brown, the founder of the New Hampshire Football Report. He's, of course, a senior staff writer as well with the New Hampshire Union Leader. All right, Bedford, they took care of business against previously unbeaten Portsmouth in the semifinal round. They had to do it on the road, but they got the job done. Strong second half. The Bulldogs advance 28-0 and eliminate Portsmouth, from the tournament. On the other side, we had a rematch of a big game in the regular season, the week 4, the Mac Plaque game. And, well, this one was a completely different affair. Londonderry flexing their muscles and making a statement in a 42-7 win to get back to the championship game where they hope to inflict some revenge against a Bedford team that beat them by a point a year ago. Steve, it's a dream final. Both teams really look good over the weekend, and it's anybody's guess, as we know, going into Saturday.
If there's ever a game where anyone's guess, this is it. All of the drama that spans back to over a year ago when these two teams squared off against each other, and it was ultimately settled by a time running out in a successful field goal. As Bedford ran off the field, I think there might have been, 40 seconds left, but basically the game was in the books at that point. And Bedford comes back with a championship. Number 10 seed, unbelievable. Bedford, 10 seed coming back to win the championship, which really lends itself to why you kind of need to go pretty deep in the playoffs. That preliminary round gives a lot of teams, if they wind up hot, that by the end of the year, the best team comes out on top. As far as Londonderry is concerned, boy, did they ever take care of business. Go back to Bedford real quick. That game was really, as far as the defense of the Portsmouth Clippers, really only allowed, in my mind, 14 points on drives. It was a closer game than 28-0, but Bedford looked very strong against what I would consider an iron defense that the Clippers put. It was just the offense just couldn't get anything going, and Bedford's defense is a big part of that, obviously, as well. But the Saturday's game with Pinkerton, with Londonderry at Pinkerton, Nick, that was a locomotive that started from the first opening drive that Pinkerton had, and they just couldn't get things clicking, and it cost them on a turnover. And to me, then you lose arguably, if not the best player on your team, probably the most impactful in Caden Michaud at halftime. You don't have him, and it's the intangibles as much as the talent. The intangibles that he brings to this football team was not on the field. It just was, like I said, a locomotive running downhill. They tried to stop it, but it just kept on dropping and dropping and dropping. And every time that Pinkerton special teams, Londonderry special teams, was huge in that game. But we'll get into it more. But we'll get into the tactical things that Coach Lozon brought to the table, and they deserve to go to the championship game after that convincing win over a very, very solid and well-talented, well-coached Pinkerton team. It just Londonderry stay from start to finish, but they look strong, broad, and deep. And going in against Bedford, we have got an unbelievable game between these two programs. Look forward to it.
Londonderry looked like they were prepared and ready to play as well, if we're going to be frank. You can talk about the X's and O's. One of the great innovations we saw in that game was having the 6'5", 300-pound left tackle, Ty Miles, line up at wingback for a number of series. That made a difference there. And again, special teams. It seems like year in and year out, Coach Lozon finds a way, or his special teams unit finds a way to make an impact. They did that again on Saturday with an 85-yard kickoff return to the house by Seth Doyon, which in a lot of ways was really the
Absolutely.
nail in the coffin, so to
But
speak. At
there's
that
another
point,
big
14-0 turns into 21-0 very quickly.
another to your point, another really big issue. Ty Miles moving to that blocking back, fullback, moving up from end to end in the middle, just running away from him, using him as a decoy, running at him when it made sense. Passing coverage, it really worked well, but that only worked well because of one other young man, this junior Paul Binder, that took his place at tackle, that filled into him in a way where he played flawless, essentially flawless that whole game. If he doesn't play the game that he played along with cohorts across the line, you don't look at that move quite as, because the game that he played out of his shoes. He said, you've called his name, Nick, what, 150 times, Paul Binder? He just played out of his socks, and he supplied the 90% anyway of the normal support that Ty Miles did. Again, then all of a sudden you have Ty Miles, you put it back. It was just, at the point of attack, was just brutal, and they just couldn't stop it. So
took place in Derry in front of a large crowd, as we expected. And the Bedford win as well. Of course, there's some caveats with that game. Portsmouth was without their senior quarterback, Aiden Thomas, injured the round before in the win over Nashua North. Colby Gentry did pretty well in his stead, but again, they couldn't get any real consistent movement when they had the football. Steve, of course, we'd be remiss to speak the entire time on D1. D2 wrapped up over the weekend, and it was another championship season, an unbeaten one for Pelham. They go back-to-back in D2. That's on the heels of a back-to-back Division III championship run back in 2019 and 2020. So congratulations to the Pelham Pythons.
I watched the game, Nick, and on the NFHS network, which we'll be broadcasting the championship game in conjunction with them. Sure, you'll talk about that. But I did watch the game, and I could be a slightly bit off, but I'm pretty sure it was 7-0 at halftime, Pelham. So they hung around. It was played out the middle field, a lot of running. I always enjoy that. But Pelham just is too good a team. But let's give Plymouth credit. They hung in there. It was set with the Portsmouth hung in there 7-0 basically at the half. Same situation there, but both of those teams, Bedford and Pelham, in Division 1 and 2 respectively, were just too powerful in the second half. Those teams owned against their opponents.
Yeah, they've got a program down there under Coach Bababian, as we know.
Yes.
And Plymouth really the team to beat again this year from week 1 on, and took care of business. Wound up in a top 5 spot in the New Hampshire Union Leader Power Poll, as well as they finished 5th, the highest ranked D2 team, again, for a reason. That final score over Plymouth, by the way, was 35-6. So, again, congratulations there as the Pythons enter the champion circle, along with Somersworth in Division 4 and Trinity in Division 3. Who will join them? Well, we find out on Saturday. The final championship game statewide. It's in Division 1. It's at a neutral site, as we know, at Exeter, Bill Ball Stadium. We will be there to cover Bedford and Londonderry. That's a 1 o'clock kick. And it does come, of course, with some strings attached. We're broadcasting live in conjunction with the NFHS network. The only place you can watch it live is nfhsnetwork.com. And that, of course, is via a subscription fee. So that's where you'll watch the game. Our broadcast will be released, 48 hours later on our YouTube channel. You can watch it there for free. But again, the only place you can watch the game live on Saturday, Steve, I, and the rest of the crew on the call, is on nfhsnetwork.com for a subscription fee. All right, our first guest is early. So let's go ahead and bring him right in. That's Roger Brown, anxious to return to the show, and we enjoy his company each and every week.
Always.
Roger, how are you? Thanks for coming on.
No problem. Ben and I are going on strike unless we get one of those pullovers that Nick's wearing.
Hey, I don't even have one. I could join it too.
Yeah, Roger, you'll have to take that up with my cousin. It was a Christmas gift a few years back. So,
gotcha. Okay.
Anyway, what'd you think about this weekend? We'll start wherever you want, whether it's Pelham and D2. You want to talk about Pinkerton Londonderry first? Portsmouth, Bedford. Where do you want to go?
Oh, let's start with D2. I mean, I think Pelham. Um, just they were the best. That's all you can say. I think Plymouth was a year early. Next year they're going to be back in business at that level. Excuse me, maybe the team to beat, but just very impressed with Pelham, both up front and just their athleticism and the skill positions. 41 in a row. I know some of that was in D3, but still, 41 in a row is tremendous accomplishment, and I think they're fourth in the country, tied for fourth in the country, longest winning streak right now. So, just a great effort by them. And Plymouth hung with them early, but Pelham was the best. No question.
What was the halftime score, Roger, on that?
Plymouth scored first. I think it was 14-6. Pelham.
That's what it was. Okay, yeah, so one score game.
Yeah.
Final score ended up being 35-6. All right, we'll stick with Division II then for a moment, Roger. What's the landscape next year? Rumors, been flying around a little bit the last few weeks, especially. Trinity may be going up. There may be some teams going either up or down from Division IV. What does the landscape look like here? I know it's early, but for next year in 24 in Division II.
Well, Trinity's definitely going up, and they'll be a good fit there. They'll be very competitive. I don't know that it's all finalized yet, Nick, but these are all preliminary plans. I think Hillsborough Deering Hopkinton is losing their co-op, so they're dropping down to D4. But other than that, it should be I think pretty much the same. I'd have to take a peek at it, review it, but the big move is Trinity up to 2 for sure.
Yeah. All right.
And I think
D1
Pelham is in D3 by enrollment, so they're going to have to petition up, which I'm sure they will.
All right, in Division I, it's going to be Londonderry and Bedford again. Both teams look good. Both teams are on the road, by the way. Londonderry a 4 seed, Bedford a 3. I think a lot of people weren't surprised necessarily that Londonderry beat Pinkerton, but the fact that it was 42-7, I think, did surprise some people in the know. What was your big takeaway there?
Yeah, shocked by the score. I really thought that one would be a dogfight. I did pick Londonderry to win, but I wouldn't have been surprised if Pinkerton came away with the victory. I was really expecting a game like the regular season one, a little bit of back and forth and, get to the fourth quarter and a big play or a turnover decides it. And, I was at the Pelham Plymouth game, so I didn't get to see it, but I was checking the score and just kept pouring in with Londonderry touchdown after touchdown. So I don't know how you can't be surprised by that score against a team and a program like Pinkerton and rivals to boot. So very surprising score there.
Steve?
Roger, one of the things that I noticed that Nick has talked about, I talked about it during the broadcast, was the idea of moving Paul Binder over to left tackle and using Ty Miles as a blocking back. And Nick and I were talking, I don't know if you heard it for the broadcast, I thought Binder played phenomenal and filled that role like a charm. And it was just, I watched him as much as I did Tom. But what do you think about that strategy? It certainly seemed to wear down, at the point of attack and even away from the ball and provided some serious pass protection. What did you see? What did you look at? What did you think of that move?
Well, I mean, I don't know the first time they tried that, but I saw Ty in the backfield against Wyndham in the first round game as well. It's interesting because you don't have any other backs back there, right? It's just Ty and the quarterback, and I don't think they're running Ty on jet sweeps yet. I don't think they got that in the playbook. But
that'd be a waste of talent.
It is very interesting because Londonderry is such a quarterback run-oriented team where they do get the extra blocker rather than turning and handing it off to somebody. And when that extra blocker is Ty Miles or whoever's on the line, replacing him, I'm sure, is very good as well. That's a big advantage, and I do think that's one of the kind of the subplots of Saturday's game is, can Londonderry make hay with that inside run game with their quarterback, or just the run game in general. I personally think they're going to need some Exeter type drives where they're going 570 yards at 3, 4, 5 yards a whack, and scoring. And also, you don't want that Bedford offense on the field either. So, I mean, that's one of the big keys, I think, in terms of Londonderry's path to victory is that between the tackles run game with the quarterback.
Another question, as far as both of these teams, the coaching staffs, the culture of the programs, the feeders in both of these programs, check, 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 right on down the list. There's a lot of similarities between the programs and how they operate, what's feeding into them, and then what happens as far as player management and player development. And then ultimately a game plan that came on the field. One of the things that I noticed was both of these teams, whether it be calling timeouts, how to get to halftime with minimal damage. In other words, don't give the opposition an opportunity to come back. But mostly the plays, the playbook itself offensively, as well as the sequencing of plays on Londonderry for sure, and absolutely for Bedford as well. The response and the adjustments coming out after hard time, again, check, 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 both of these teams. Your thoughts on what you saw as far as the game management of these coaching staffs and the application of that by the players?
Well, I just think probably an underrated element of this game is the coaching staffs. Two excellent staffs. I mean, you look at both programs, they're no strangers to this game. And, it starts in the off season. Some schools get it in that regard where right after Thanksgiving, they're back at it for next year. Some schools still have a little bit of work to do in that area in terms of doing that to be competitive. But, these are two programs that are working football year round, and it shows. And the details, like you said, Steve, you just look at Londonderry's special teams, for example, how good they are.
Yeah.
And, even Bedford, they just had, they went with a little bit of tempo against Portsmouth in that third quarter to come up with that big drive, to give them that. Seemed like 14-0 was a bigger lead than 2 touchdowns in that type of game with Portsmouth's situation and its quarterback. And just a small adjustment where they did a little bit of hurry up and they got Portsmouth on their heels a little bit. So, you're right on with these little subtle things that maybe a lot of people don't see. And there's probably a lot more that we don't see that goes on as well. But that's one thing that I don't even worry about is both of these teams being prepared for this game. That's not going to be the reason the team loses a lack of preparation.
Obviously, Londonderry comes into this game losing right down in the final minute to Bedford in the finals. Bedford's coming off with a championship. Obviously, it's easy to look at the old rematch attitude about coming back and getting another crack at the team that beat you. What about the motivations that are coming in and the sort of techniques that coaching staffs? I mean, what would you use if you were coach staff to really build your program up or your team up to come in with that sense of urgency right out of the gate? If you're the winner, if you're the champion,
Yeah, I do think Bedford, well, both teams really, I think emotion is going to be a big factor in this game, more so than most, believe it or not, just because of the rematch factor. A lot of the same faces are going to be on the field. I asked Coach Lozon earlier this week, I was wondering about Londonderry having to play Pinkerton and then come right back and get up for a championship game. That rivalry with Pinkerton, that takes a lot out of you too.
Huge.
But he said his team is just, has responded well when they've been emotional. They've been playing, that's helped them this year. So it'll be interesting. I don't know if, I'm sure Bedford's going to be ready to go. Maybe they can use some of that emotion and aggressiveness that Londonderry is going to show against them, But they're certainly going to have to be ready to take a blow right out of the gate for sure, both teams. What
about defensively? Last question before we go back to Nick. What about defensively when you start looking at some of these players, their defensive backfield as far as pass coverage have just been lights out, recovery speed, swarm tackling, form tackling, swarm and form as they call it. And when you look at these two teams stack up their defense against Bedford's offense and Bedford's defense against the Londonderry offense, how do you see this? Are you seeing a complete draw, and it's just going to be who shows up that day? What do you see when you get inside the defensive game plan as these teams face each other Saturday?
Yeah, that's a good point, Steve. I personally think the defensive line on each team is not only the strength of the defense, but probably the strength of each team in general.
Right.
Two dominant defensive lines, and I know it's not sexy, but I do think this game is going to be determined up front because both offensive lines are very good too.
Yes.
And I just that's just going to be an all-out war up there. Very very competitive, and Londonderry is definitely going to have the edge up there. I think Bedford is a team that can maybe get away with a stalemate or 60-40, and they're the 40 and still make enough big plays to win. But that battle up front in the trenches is what this one's going to be all about. You can talk, the usual turnovers, execution, all that. I think it just comes down to, who's going to move the other team off the ball, or get off blocks. Simple as that, really.
When you got Danny Black, and this is really talking defensively from the Lancer side, their cornerbacks and safeties are fast as lightning, but as a team, they're not tall. They are at linebacker, but they're not a tall group. And then you look at the Bedford offensive receivers, and you see Soden, 6 whatever. You see
Tagliaferro.
Yeah, Tagliaferro, he's got some height and certainly has his jumping. We saw that in the first touchdown of the game in the end zone. He was about 2.5, 3 feet off the ground when he came back for that pass. And then you take 88 Kevin Sheridan.
Yeah,
Take him out across. Do you see potentially an advantage there that as good as the defensive backfield is, you think they're going to be able to cover that height? Because Black seems to have a pretty good knack for taking advantage of that height with his unbelievably direct throws.
Yeah, he's very, very accurate.
I'm just looking for
you're
angles,
right. No. I if you told me how Londonderry is going to defend the pass, I could give you probably the winner of the game. You know what I mean? I think
that's it.
But it goes back to my point up front. I think part of that battle up front is going to be not giving Black any time to throw. They're just going to have to get him off his spot with a rush, up the middle or whatever. Because let's face it, Bedford's a nightmare to defend. They got it all over there. They can run it, they can throw it, tight end. They got the screen game to Helton. I mean, if you're a defensive coordinator and you pop on the Bedford film, you're probably not sleeping for a long time.
Right. Right.
And one thing I do wonder about is Londonderry's DN seem to be really tall and lanky, so maybe they can get the hands up and cause some problems in that regard. But pressuring Black and not giving him time is certainly going to be one of my keys to victory for Londonderry for sure. Or on the other side, if they do give him time, a key for Bedford.
I got 9. I got 9 more questions, but I'm going to hand it back to Nick. Roger, this is going to be a great one. Again, I'm just trying to exploit differences, but at the end of the day, when you match these teams up, it doesn't really add up to any severe advantage to me. That I think it's going to be who brings the emotion to the game and the game calls that offensively and defensively are going to go on the field. So you're going to obviously, don't be a stranger on Saturday for us, okay? I'll hand it back to Nick.
Okay.
Roger, one more question. The Ukeka finalist, right?
Yes,
We're down
sir.
to 3. We've got that
Yep.
winner. The announcement for the winner set to come up this weekend, right?
Tomorrow. It'll be announced like Thanksgiving sometime. So, it'll be released probably on social media Thursday night and, in the regular social media Friday. So appreciate you guys' support with that. I think it's a good award that, that the football community will benefit from. And really, guys, also everything you guys do is tremendous as well. So I'd be remiss without thanking you for this show and the coverage on the weekends. It's just been terrific. Everybody's very lucky that you guys do what you do.
Well, we appreciate you, Roger. You've been part of the crew, really unofficially anyway, since day one. So
Absolutely.
we appreciate you always being available for us. So thank you.
Just need my jacket.
We'll work on
it. Trust me, Roger. Right after Thanksgiving and we get Christmas, you know, we're going to get you something there because, like I say,
Ben and I both need mediums. He said.
Well, I don't know about my offense and defensive lineman. I think he's going to need more than a medium, but that's not a bad thing. I certainly need a 3XL. So, Nick, do you mind if I buy one for me too?
We'll talk off air. Roger, as usual.
Roger started a flame here. It's going to get expensive. But
yeah, I think so. Thank you again, Roger. We'll see you on Saturday. We appreciate it.
Okay, guys. Thanks a bunch. Take care.
Thank you, Roger.
That's the great Roger Brown, founder of the New Hampshire Football Report, senior staff writer at the New Hampshire Union Leader. On the other side, the coaches will break down their thoughts on the semifinal win as we talk with who we got first. We have Bedford's Zach Matthews at 6:30. That's about 2 minutes from now. And then at 6:45, it's Coach Lozon on the hot seat. You are watching FNL Gridiron, presented by Beals Insurance.
Our broadcast today, as it always is brought to you by Beals Insurance Agency, with locations now in both Bedford and Londonderry. Whether you need home, auto, or business insurance, Beals Insurance will get you both the price and quality coverage that's right for you. Just call 603-471-9999 or visit BealsInsurance.com to request a free quote and start saving money today. Again, that's BealsInsurance.com. How can you reach your team's fundraising goals at no risk and no cost? MG Sports offers a variety of products to make your team's fundraiser a success. Their products include tickets and discount cards to hundreds of local businesses. MG Sports now has a digital platform where athletes can raise funds in the comfort and safety of their own home. Don't waste another season. Raise more funds than ever before and become another football program in New Hampshire that sets fundraising records every season. MG Sports, fundraising made easy. Visit mgsportsfundraising.com to start raising money for your team today. The New Hampshire Tomahawks promote the highest level of club lacrosse competition, not just in the state, but in the country. Looking to get recruited? Director Chris Cameron keeps an open dialogue with the nation's top college lacrosse coaches. Over 400 New Hampshire Tomahawks alumni have played at the college level, including the ACC, Big East, Big Ten, Ivy, NESCAC, NE10, and more. The New Hampshire Tomahawks coaching staff has over 100 coaches, including current high school, varsity, and college coaches. The Tomahawks offer training for players of all ages, clinics, camps, and leagues, along with spring, summer, and fall elite teams. So play with the best. The New Hampshire Tomahawks, showcase and development for college lacrosse. Visit NewHampshireTomahawks.com and girls.nhtomahawks.com.
Hey, I'm Chad, the owner of New Hampshire iPhone Repair. We're New Hampshire's most trusted and affordable repair shop for your iPhone, iPad, iPod, and even Android needs. Don't worry, we're affordable, reliable, and we back our parts with a lifetime warranty. And you know what the best part is? No, what? We can repair your phone while you wait.
I know, that's why I'm here.
Oh, I know, Mrs. Green. Here's your iPad, good as new. Bring your phone into New Hampshire iPhone Repair today.
Buy local and save big. For over 26 years, Spectrum Monthly has been providing great local offers from businesses in New Hampshire and Massachusetts, delivered to your mailbox every month. Spectrum is chock full of savings from your favorite businesses. From local restaurants and retail stores to entertainment, fitness, and home improvement services. You'll have easy access to thousands of dollars in savings, including exclusive offers for Spectrum readers. Every month, enter our readership contest for a chance at winning cash and local gift certificates. Spectrum Monthly, no one brings you better offers.
Back here on FNL Gridiron, season finale, the championship edition, presented by Beals Insurance. Nick Anastas, along with Steve Beals. We thank Roger Brown for jumping on. Of course, you can read up on Roger's latest stuff on his website. Yep. It's, of course, nhfootballreport.com. He's also, of course, a senior staff writer at the New Hampshire Union Leader. In about 15 minutes or so, we catch up with Coach Lozon on the eve of the big rematch between Bedford and Londonderry. And, of course, the only place to watch that live this weekend, Saturday at 1 o'clock, is on the NFHS Network's website, nfhsnetwork.com. Steve and I will be on the call. Our people will be behind the cameras. Ben will be down in the dungeon mixing the whole thing up. But the only place you can watch it for free is on nfhsnetwork.com. That's not for free. That's with a subscription price.
Right.
And, of course, we will release our broadcast 48 hours later for free on our YouTube channel, FNLNH Media. All right, let's bring in our second guest, Bedford head coach Zach Matthews, returning to the show for a third straight week. Coach, looks like you broke out of the locker room at least.
I was going to say.
Yeah, it's once in a while they release us. So, yeah, I get to be home actually tonight to do this. So that's kind of good.
We appreciate it. Coach, that must have been a joyful ride home on Friday night after that 28-0 win over Portsmouth. I know it's kind of been there, done that with some of these guys. A lot of success over the last few years, but still, it's got to feel good to knock off an unbeaten team at their place to get back into the championship. How excited was your team?
Yeah, I mean, I think we were excited. It's obviously anytime you get an opportunity to go back and play for a championship, it's a special thing. So obviously the fact that we punched our ticket and, we knew that we were going to be playing in the championship game was something that was exciting. It's not an easy thing to get there, no matter, which way you cut it or slice it. It's a long season, and our kids have certainly put in a lot of hard work along the way. And so I was certainly proud of them for getting to this point. And, now we're one of the only two teams left playing football in the state, which is something that's pretty special.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the motivation is there. You want to be a champ year in and year out. Londonderry's got a little bit of extra. Having lost to you guys in the final last year, revenge is the big kind of sub-storyline, at least in the media. What's the angle you take to try to motivate your guys above and beyond, obviously, the already built-in motivation for building a championship? And as a head coach, how do you get your guys, quote-unquote, ready to go against Londonderry? Because we know they'll be chomping at the bit.
Yeah, I think if I have to get my guys ready to go, we've got a problem, right?
Mm.
I mean, this one's for all the marbles. And if I have to say a whole lot to get them excited to play in this game, we're going to have issues. So it's great narrative, to be honest, for people to talk about the rematch and revenge. And reality is these are two very different teams than what they were last year. And this is a brand new football game that's going to have to be played on Saturday. Mm. So sure, if Londonderry has an advantage for the first 5 minutes of the game with the revenge factor, we'll give them that. But the rest of the football game is going to be about execution and our kids playing the best of their ability. So, it's going to be a long football game. We're going to have to make plays. I'm sure they're going to make some, and we're going to have to make a couple more than they do.
Yeah. You got a lot of kids that played in that championship game last year bring back experience this time around. Who are some of the leaders in that locker room, Coach? Who are some of the seniors that you don't have to police necessarily, that you rely on, perhaps, to patrol the locker room and get their teammates ready to go? Who are some of the emotional leaders on that team?
Yeah, well, I'm blessed. I have a special group of seniors. We have so many kids. I mean, you got Danny Black, Spencer Henrishon on the offensive line, Jake Ben. The last two guys I just mentioned are kids who've been 2-year captains. Kevin Sheridan with his leadership and his physicality. And then you got a bunch of the other kids who probably aren't getting as much publicity as they deserve. Dom Taliaferro as a safety and a wide receiver for us who made a ton of big plays last year. Alex Gradinskis, who starts at linebacker and did for us last year. Dylan Soden, Luke Soden coming back. We're blessed to have a lot of really good senior football players. And so I think they've shared that leadership role collectively, which is the best way to go about it. I would be concerned if we had 2 or 3 kids that were, kind of saying everything and leading the way. But we've got a bunch of kids who kind of take turns, and it's been really leadership by a whole group of kids, which makes the ownership that much better in what we're preaching kind of as a team.
Steve?
Coach, congratulations for getting here. Undefeated season, but it's the way that you guys performed week in and week out. I do believe you played the toughest defense of the year the other night that you probably faced. You would know that better than I would, but just the games that I saw. And I thought that your defense did a phenomenal job of winning that battle by a pretty wide margin, giving your offense a 4-yard opportunity to get in the end zone, 1 touchdown, I think 23-24 for another one. And then, of course, the other ones were prolific offensive drives coming from the sideline from you all the way to the application of the talent on the field. Specifically, I wanted to talk about that first touchdown that Danny Black threw this ball right over the back corner of the end zone with Talaferro making a fantastic move of coming back for the ball, which is something that is so important for receivers to learn, his athleticism. So that particular battery right there is a college play as far as I'm concerned, as far as the quality and the precision. How did you feel when you saw that? Did you feel, say, this we're in today when you saw it? Because I was amazed by that pass.
Even as a coach after that one, you're kind of sitting there saying, wow, because, that's obviously a pass that doesn't get completed by a lot of people at the high school level. I mean, that was an intentional back shoulder throw that Danny put in there, and he put it in the only spot where we felt like our guy could get it. So that's certainly something that we work on. I think we're blessed to have a really good quarterback and to be honest, it's not just one or two kids. We've got, 4, 5, 6 kids who can go get the ball. And so for us, we're going to find some of those matchups. But Danny put that ball in a perfect spot. And obviously Dominic went up and made a really great catch and got his feet in. I wasn't necessarily super excited about that throw when he made it initially. It's one of those where you're like, no. Yes, great throw, but
that's honesty right there. That's honesty.
There was two guys there, and so I knew it was going to be a tight window, and it certainly was a tight window, and he put it in the perfect spot. But that's one of those ones where sometimes you got to put your trust in the kids, and he had an instinct there, and he went for it, and it worked out for us in that regard.
As you well know, I've been very public about what I feel about Danny Black as a quarterback. I was very complimentary of him last year, but I did know if there was one thing is maybe on an occasion he might force something, or he might try to take that talent that he has and put it to too high a test. That was long gone this year. His ability this year to follow the mission that you've set forth to him, that you've got a great team behind you, so you only need to do what's there. You don't have to do that's not easy thing to do. Your thoughts on Danny's mental and emotional improvement that was shown on the field to make good decisions. I just hope he plays college football, because I think he's college material, certainly at some level. Your thoughts on his development and he was good last year, let's not kid ourselves, but this year in particular, he almost flawless.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things you always have to deal with a senior quarterback is sometimes they feel like they have to do so much more than their junior season, right? Well, my junior year was this, so I'm a senior. I'm going to have to do a little bit more. And so we went through some of those struggles early in the year where I think that Danny pressed a little bit, and he felt like he had to make every throw perfectly. And now I think we're at the point where he's realizing he's, surrounded by a bunch of great players who can make plays, and it's not just one or two kids. And then to play, on the other side of the ball, when you look at our defense, we've given up, as far as our starters, we've given up one touchdown all year. One. Right. And so when you talk about that formula, I think it takes some of the pressure off of him feeling like, I got to make this happen. I said to him, we don't have to make every single throw be a perfect throw, because we can play behind our defense. We can use our special teams. But that's what you want in a competitor. He wants every single throw to be completed. He wants every single drive to result in a touchdown. And, even though sometimes that's probably an unfair standard he places on himself. And to be honest, I'm kind of similar. I place that on the kids. We expect to score every time we touch the ball. And
that's right. And
sometimes there's a little bit of a reality check there that, all right, sometimes the defense is going to make a really good play, and we got to live to fight another down.
Talk about Spencer Sheridan, Brennan Krause, Jake Sheft, Jack Ben, Connor Flaherty, and Kevin Sheridan. I'm sorry, yeah, Kevin. Am I right on that? I got
Kevin Sheridan. Wrong. Yep. Jake Sheft, Jake Ben, Brennan Krause.
It's Spencer. It's Spencer Hendershot. Excuse me. I had two Sheridans written there. Sorry, Spencer. But I want to call these guys out. The tremendous work that they've done. Talk about 5 or 6 players working as a unit. These guys are just terrific. I watched the way that they pull. I watched the tactical form in which they use to do it. I talked to Coach Lozon the other night. I asked him if he uses shoot. He says, yeah, we do. It looks like the same on your team as well, whether you use one or not. They're certainly playing low, and everything is basically displacement of where the center of gravity is against their defensive opponents. These guys are a huge part of why you're there, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're blessed to have obviously a really good offensive line, and our tight ends are an extension of that. And
Yes.
you know, I work with those kids personally. A lot of head coaches work with the skill guys, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But since I become a head coach, I've always had a pretty heavy hand with working with our offensive and defensive lines because I feel like the game begins and ends there. And so I've been lucky enough to have some of these kids starting, obviously, for their third season this year with the seniors. Two of those kids, Jake Ben and Spencer Henderson, have started for 3 years for us, and so they have a lot of snaps under their belt. And we work pretty hard at it. We have a series of drills we do every single day, and then every week we're kind of trying to work on something different. But you mentioned that Portsmouth defense last week, and that was, as far as a front and as far as linebackers, they were extremely stout. It was the two best inside linebackers that I've seen throughout the league all year. Those kids flew around, made great plays, incredibly physical. And so I was really proud of the job we did up front last week in both the run game and the pass game, giving Danny time, but also creating some of those seams for Brody. So, yeah, it's a great offensive line. I'm lucky to have them. We've been blessed to keep most of our guys pretty healthy throughout the course of the year. And we have, high expectations for their performance on Saturday because we're going to need it with some of the big dogs on the other side.
Well, you guys absolutely, at the end of the year, where a team is, but you guys have done it all year long. But specifically, Zach, I know you probably don't want to hear this, but I think you called, I think both coaches on Friday night and Saturday, the winners of both of those games, you and your opponent this week, called incredible offensive games, play sequencing, creating deception built into that. And playing to the strengths. I just saw you from a coach's standpoint, as well as Coach Lozano. We got you here right now. You were reading defenses, calling in a second. I saw one time, I believe you called in a third play based on a defensive reset that they did. I think you did a terrific job, and I know you don't need to hear that, but everybody needs to understand that this isn't just players on the field. This is you and your staff. I just think you nailed it. And I'll tell you, I thought that defense was going to be a problem, and they were a problem at times. But what you were doing from the sidelines and the way that Danny puts it into action just was a wonderful thing to see. Nothing better than exciting offensive football, and you guys put it together. So with that, thank you for coming on this year. Before I pass it over to Nick, thank you for coming on. Like you said, you come on as often as that means you're winning. But I thought you did a terrific job, and of course, Sean did a terrific job as well, and the rest of the staff. So good for Bedford High School to come back. That's not an easy thing to do, to come back to be in the championship game and defend that championship. So congratulations to you guys, and best of luck on Saturday. I can't wait for this battle. If you don't like this, don't bother going to a high school football game. This is great stuff. Two solid teams. So terrific job on Friday night, and I'm sure it's going to be the same on Saturday. It'll be a war.
Yeah,
Coach,
thanks, Steve. I think one of those things, you got to think about is, Jimmy does a great job with their offense. Obviously, I pride myself in what we do. I think both programs, one of the reasons why we're there is I think we try our best to put our kids in the best position possible to win games.
Absolutely.
And allow them to do the things that they do the best. So I'm sure that, as you saw last week, I'm sure Jimmy will have some interesting wrinkles for us this weekend, and he can expect that we'll have some interesting wrinkles for him, and that's what makes that chess match and that battle so much fun, and hopefully it's good football for everybody to watch again.
Well, congratulations.
Coach, final question, Coach. Take me through the next 66 hours from now until game time. Obviously, you've got Thanksgiving tomorrow, one more day of prep, and then game time on Saturday. What's the itinerary look like for Coach Matthews?
Yep. So we'll practice tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. to 10:30 on the turf at our place. So we'll get right out there on Thanksgiving morning and get after it in full pads. What a better way to celebrate a holiday and give thanks. So we'll full pads, and we're going to be after it tomorrow morning. And then I look forward to obviously coming home. We're actually hosting my family this year at the house like we did last year. So we'll have 15, 16 people here at the house having a good meal, and we'll watch some football. And then Friday, we've got practice at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We gave the kids that day in case people were traveling or going somewhere, locally for Thanksgiving. So we'll go Friday night, and we'll have a pasta dinner on Friday night after practice. And Saturday morning, we'll get up, we'll bring the kids in, we'll have a little bit of a walkthrough. go through kind of the last minute items. We make sure we got all the boxes checked, and then we'll get on the bus and go over there and play some football. So certainly it's a busy week. It's an opportunity for us to give thanks for just playing in this game, obviously, spend some time with our families. And I think that's the special thing about playing in this game. And now that it's after the Thanksgiving holiday, there's a ton of alumni that are going to get to come to the game. I'm expecting a really good crowd. There's a lot of kids back from college. We get a lot of our players get to have family from out of town. They're going to get to watch them play. So it makes it really special. We're looking forward to it, but it's certainly going to be a busy next couple days.
Yeah. Coach, as usual, we appreciate it, not just tonight, but all season long, and we wish you the best of luck on Saturday. Thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. We'll see you Saturday. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Same to you.
Happy Thanksgiving. That again, Coach Zach Matthews. Got the Bedford Bulldogs back in the Division I championship in a rematch with Londonderry. Again, that game can be seen on NFHSnetwork.com. NFHSnetwork.com. Our Friday Night Lights New Hampshire crew will be broadcasting in conjunction with the NFHS, but the only place you can watch it live for a subscription is on NFHSnetwork.com. All right, the opponent is Jimmy Lozon, and he joins us right now here on FNL Gridiron, live from Londonderry High School. Coach, good evening. How are you, my friend? Thanks for coming on.
Hi, Coach.
No problem. Good evening for you guys. I'm good. How are you?
We're good. I heard you just sprinted into the
Can you
locker
hear me?
room, Coach.
Okay, good.
Yep, we're fine.
I heard you just
We
sprinted in,
practiced
Coach. I
off-site
hope we're
today,
not
so-
hindering you too badly. Coach, how big was that win?
Nope.
42-7. Did that exceed even your expectations there? Because a lot of people thought that it was going to be close, similar to the regular season matchup in week number 4. That 42-7 final score must have put a smile on your face, at least for a couple of minutes after the game, right, Coach?
It did. I took a few hours to just, kind of enjoy it before I got on easy again as I, start prepping for the next opponent. But, those type of wins don't come around that often. And, we just enjoyed it for a few hours and then got right back to work. But, yeah, it was great. The boys played awesome. Very, very proud of them, how they played, how physical they played, just all 3 phases. I felt like we were going to need that type of game from all of them in order to beat a team like Pinkerton. I did not expect that type of result, but that just goes to show what we can do when we execute on all levels.
Yeah, kind of a culmination of when we talked a week ago as well. You said you felt like your team may be playing the best football of the season. I think that was answered definitively based on Saturday. What's been the trick, really, since that week 4 loss of getting these guys not only back on track, but seeing them improve week in and week out? What does that come down to in your mind?
I think it was really just experience. It's something we kind of had the foresight for, and we're hoping for, if we were to stay healthy, that we were going to play our best football down the stretch, because we had so many guys that were just inexperienced. And I told a lot of people this preseason, it was like, they're like, "Are you young?" I'm like, "We're not young. We graduated a lot of guys. We're just inexperienced. We have good players on those lower levels. They just hadn't played varsity yet, and we lost some big names last year, so we just didn't know what to expect. And I just felt like we've gotten better and better as this year has gone on. Similar to Bedford last year, they got hot late and really played their best football. And we weren't at that time, and it showed that day when we played. So we wanted to be in position to be playing our best football, and Bedford's still playing well right now, but we have definitely played our best football this season.
Yeah. Coach, at one point during the broadcast, I believe I counted 14 different offensive players touch the football. That's quite a spread. Was that by design, that kind of balance, that kind of depth? Or is that just something that you've done week in and week out in terms of spreading the ball around at the skill spots?
You know, it comes with different groups and different personnel. Obviously, you're not going to put guys out there that can't handle it. However, if we've got multiple guys that can handle it, why not get as many people involved as possible, whether it's carrying the ball or just being on the field? I think it gets more people in your program excited. It gets more kids focused on the game plan. It gets more people involved. You know, there's really no downfall to it. So it's definitely something we try to do on the JV level, varsity level, just really spread the ball around, help guys develop and get better. You know, of the 14 guys that touched the ball last week, you know, I think 8 of them were juniors or sophomores. So like, you know, that's going to be good for them next year. It'll pay off next year. So every chance we get to get those guys involved. But, you know, sometimes we don't have that luxury, and we've just got to play, you know, the primetime guys that are ready. But these guys have shown that they've developed, they put in the work, and they deserve the opportunity.
Steve?
Jim, Roger Brown interviewed you in the beginning of the year, and I think Roger's a fantastic reporter as well. Just his overall in-depth coverage. That's why Nick loves to get him on. And every time Nick tells me on Monday or Tuesday he's coming, I get excited, as well as the other guests we have too. Your comment was, we return many seniors that have gathered experience over the last 2 years, but haven't been in a lead role. It will be interesting to see who is ready for that opportunity. Similar to other programs in our conference and our division, our kids have worked hard and had a great summer heading up to the season. We'll continue to work hard, try to improve from day to day, and hopefully we can stay healthy. If we can do those things, it will be an enjoyable season. Your thoughts reflecting on that initial comment, because if that wasn't a predictive and somewhat of a prophetical reality that happened, here we are going into Saturday. What are your thoughts as I read that now? You must be pretty satisfied with your boys.
It's nice when it works out the way you hope. So
It sure is.
You know, yeah, I'm extremely proud of them, and they have done exactly that. They've gotten better. They've developed. They've worked hard. You know, we push them. You know, I probably push them the hardest of all the coaches. Only one bad cop around here. That's me. Everybody else is a bunch of nice guys. I got a bunch of nice. Push them extremely hard, and you know, it's just if they meet me there, you know, we usually get the results on the other side, and that's what we've got here. There's a lot of guys that have put in a lot of work, and like I said, they didn't have those. You know, they weren't the star role last year, but we knew, you know, Devin Bowles was going to be a good ball player. Alex Villa was going to be a good ball player. You know, Paul Bender and Ty Parsons and a lot of these guys that have played here and there. But we could see it in practice, and we could see it at those other levels that they were going to be ready to go.
Ty Miles, Michael Thistle, Kyle Jasper, Charlie Lance, Andreas Taliadoris. I apologize if I said that wrong. And then this guy, Paul Binder. You decide to take your number one offensive lineman, and you've got a whole bunch of great offensive linemen, no question about that. Nothing taken away. But Ty doesn't come every single year, especially as a senior, with the sort of emotion in which he plays. You take him and you decide to put him in the backfield. Brilliant move. No one's going to argue the benefit of doing that and the multifaceted approach and the execution you're going to get from doing that. However, you're taking him out of the tackle position. And then you put, I believe, what I saw most of the game was Paul Binder into left tackle. And to me, Paul Binder is just as much a part of that move's success as it is Ty Miles, because he did a phenomenal job in that game from start to finish, whether it be pass protection, run to his side, you know, backside blocking, whatever it is. Your thoughts on that young man who I talk about Ty Miles, but Paul's proving to me his just amazing worth in his football team, as well as the other guys I read.
No, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, we're not able to do that and utilize that type of package without Paul being able to go in and you know, not lose a beat there at left tackle. And not everyone has the luxury of being able to, you know, the sixth lineman or seventh lineman on your group is 6'6", 265 and can go in there and execute. He's a smart kid, and he's probably a Division I lineman, you know, 2 years from now. So, you know, that's you know, it was a nice thing to have, and we were kind of looking around, and I just didn't want to leave here with any regrets if we were going to go down on Saturday, and you know, we just wanted to make sure we exhausted all options, and we'd been toying around with that package, and felt like it fit, and the game plan, it just made sense that week. Now, I will say and if this is your last ever high school game and you don't take one offensive line snap, I'm going to look like an idiot. So, it's I'm glad it worked out. But everything to do with Paul and Ty being willing to go back there and different calls, different formations, different things that we had to put in. But the guys bought into it, and it worked out.
A couple of timeouts you called there I thought were pretty timely, but the thing I saw from the offensive play calling was sequencing and utilizing Ty Miles not just at the point of attack, but use him very sneakily as a decoy to draw their linebackers, at least get them to commit to Ty's side and then run the other way with Alex Vila and your other quarterbacks or Seth Doyon or that whole array of not big, but yet tremendously conditioned and rugged. I don't know what these guys do on the leg press, but on the leg machine, but these guys are all rugged fellas. And I just thought the idea of utilizing running away from him, I said, what's he doing running away from him? Then you could see the plays that you came back with, and you really had that great linebacking core from Pinkerton, just guessing all day long. So any thoughts as you go towards Bedford here when you look at that defense? Yeah, go talk about it, please. Love to hear it.
No, yeah, no. The goal was obviously, if it worked like we thought it would, they would, their eyes would just. I mean, how do your eyes not drift to Ty, right?
Right.
And so it's just one of those things. You can't have him lead to play. But if he wasn't going to lead to the play, we were going to have the numbers the other way. And so we were trying to create that opportunity. And again, there was a lot we threw in last week just for this to work. I thought the guys handled it extremely well. That's why I'm extremely proud of them. And then as far as Bedford goes, I mean, this is definitely the best defensive line we've gone up against. To be honest, last year when we went into the state championship, I started breaking down film on them. They had 3 losses, and I hadn't seen them live. So when I dove into the film, I'm like, I don't know if I'm not seeing this right, but this might be the best D line we've seen. And I said that last year, and now they returned 3 out of 4 this year. So they're very good. They didn't take much of a drop off at the other DN spot, and our guys are gonna have to be up for another challenge. This is their biggest one yet.
Yeah. How does it feel, just last question, how does it feel to go in and knowing that you've got an opportunity, a rematch of a game that was basically even Steven right across the board, and it was just, one field goal and a whole bunch of things that went into that last 4 or 5 minutes that were definitely made it exciting for Nick and I to call on the sidelines. But how do you feel going into this? What is not about yourself, but just about you being the leader and head coach of this program of Londonderry? How do you feel going into this? There's a lot of quiet emotion. It looks like you seem very determined. A lot of quiet emotion that I see there. So, your thoughts on going in and getting a rematch? How important is this to you?
It's way bigger than me, but it's just great to see the kids. Things kind of come full circle, and we get another shot at them, and get back to this game, which is probably something not many people predicted. And losing 17 starting spots, losing some great ball players. It just goes to show the amount of people that put in the work. Our strength and conditioning coach, Michelle Hart-Miller, is unbelievable. I mean, our coaching staff has worked their tail off, and this isn't a 3-month ordeal for us. Coaches put a lot of time in, the players put a lot of time in, and so it's just great to see the payoff and that they're able to get to this point. So I'm extremely happy. Obviously not satisfied, but extremely happy and proud of everybody that's had a hand in getting us here. And if you told me we were going to get here, my next question would be like, are we playing Bedford, right? Like that would be the team we'd want to play. The stage is set. They're better than they were last year, and they were really good last year. So it's going to be quite the challenge.
Well, we look forward to be there. We've got multiple cameras. We're going to throw everything every resource we got. We got the man that you see there calling the game, so it's in good hands that way. So I truly wish you the very best of luck, Jim. I can't. I don't want to say I'm proud of you, but I kind of am for overcoming that many of new players to watch the development happen. Then this is good for not just Londonderry Bedford this game. This is good for every single team to see the model of mistake-free first-class football, and it starts at the top. You're going to feel the heat, and it's also going into this game. Bedford, the state of New Hampshire should be very proud of the two marquee programs that are going head-to-head. I literally can't wait, and I wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Coach,
Appreciate that.
happy
Special
Thanksgiving
team.
and best of luck on Saturday. We appreciate it.
Happy Thanksgiving. I'll see you guys then. Thank you.
You bet, Jim.
Thank you. Jimmy Lozon, another class act. Head coach, athletic director over at Londonderry. Has built up quite the program over the last decade. This will be Londonderry's fourth trip to the Division I final in the last 5 seasons as they look for revenge on Saturday. Again, the only place you can watch it live, NFHSnetwork.com. Friday Night Lights New Hampshire will be broadcasting the game in conjunction with the NFHS Network, but the only place you can watch it live is on NFHSnetwork.com, and that comes with a subscription fee. The broadcast will be posted on our YouTube channel 48 hours later, where you can watch it for free. Steve, your final thoughts.
There are two men here tonight with very unique core intelligence about football and their ability to motivate and educate through their staffs on the field to the development of these players. Don't underestimate Zach Matthews either. He has players that he has to continue to develop. I think he's done a magnificent job with Danny Black. I think he's done a magnificent job the other night against Portsmouth with his offensive play calling, and he's got a great staff. Same situation with Londonderry Lancers and what Jimmy brings to the thing. These are the two premier programs this year. There's not even a question about it, and they're going head-to-head. And it's going to be a fun game to watch because you know that both of these teams, the cerebral element of this game that you're going to see from sidelines to the applied play on the field is going to be magnificent. And I can't imagine this thing, anybody running away with it. It happens. We saw it last week. I certainly didn't think it was going to be a runaway. I just don't see it this week because when you have defenses that flow to the ball, cover, very seldom make mistakes. They don't shoot themselves in the foot with penalties and flags. They're technically extremely sound, and their offenses are both led by two men that know and are what you see on the field. This is very much an extension of the two individuals when they call offensively on the play field. Nick, I can't imagine this game not going down to within a touchdown. It just special teams are ironclad. I mean, where's the weakness here? So, thank you to both of these guys, Nick. I'll say it personally that we're going to get this kind of quality football that New Hampshire can be proud of on Saturday.
Yeah, I agree. The gloves are off Saturday at 1 o'clock in the Division I rematch. I want to thank our guest tonight, Roger Brown, founder of the New Hampshire Football Report, senior staff writer at the New Hampshire Union Leader. Appreciate his involvement all season long here on FNL Gridiron. And, of course, we thank our head coaches that'll be taking part in Saturday's Division I championship. Coach Matthews from Bedford, Coach Lozon from Londonderry. I want to thank the sponsors as well. Beals Insurance, MG Sports Fundraising, New Hampshire iPhone Repair, the New Hampshire Tomahawks, and, of course, Spectrum Monthly. We appreciate the ongoing support. One final reminder, Steve and I will be on the air at 12:45 on Saturday. Kickoff comes your way at 1. The only place you can watch it live is NFHSnetwork.com. NFHSnetwork.com. We'll air the broadcast for free 48 hours later on our YouTube channel. All right,
Look forward to it.
For our director, the man behind the curtain, Ben Beals. My partner, executive producer, Steve Beals. My name is Nick Anastas saying so long. This has been FNL Gridiron presented by Beals Insurance. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.